Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of It's Crystal Clear, a show designed to tell your money where to go instead of always wondering where it went. My name is Felicia Young, and as always, I thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey to become financially healthy. So, today's episode is called This or That. I have a question for you. If you make time to just sit in silence with no one around, no phone, no distractions, sitting on your porch or just sitting in your car or in your prayer closet, and you just make time to fantasize about your dream life, what would you be doing if money wasn't a factor? If you could envision your near perfect life, what would you wake up every day excited to go do? Is it going to a skyrise building that you own, headed to the top floor to lead a board meeting for your multi-million-dollar company? Or would you go back to college to earn your bachelor's degree or your master's degree or even your doctorate degree? Would you buy a big old house, big enough for you to sleep in a different master bedroom and use a different bathroom every day of the week? Would you start your own nonprofit company and just help less fortunate families every single day? Or would you write a book or two or three and travel the country doing book tours? If you're single, would you travel often to the Caribbean islands to get your groove back like Stella did? Or if you booed up, would you make time for romance time all the time? How would you really enjoy spending your life if money wasn't a factor? So, my personal answer to that question changed just a few years ago. So, I always loved traveling. So far, I've traveled to 5 different continents in my lifetime. Traveling is just my thing that I love to do. So, I would definitely make time to travel nationally and internationally at least 3 times a year. My phone ringer would be off. I would only use my phone to take pictures to capture these marvelous memories. I would definitely have access to a private plane. And sometimes I will make time to take my closest friends to the East Coast or maybe to the West Coast just to have lunch on the water. Or I could take my children and their families on an all-expense paid trip to wherever in the world I want to go just because. I would really make time to absorb the moments. So I currently have a grandson, and ever since he's been born, my overactive, always busy schedule came to a screeching halt. Y'all, I'm so obsessed with this little kid. I'm enjoying watching him grow. I'm enjoying watching him learn. I'm enjoying watching him just simply enjoy life. And I know when I have more grandkids, that'll be a wrap. I'm going to want to spend all my time with each one of them. And I'm going to come to work as least as possible so I can do it. Y'all going to be out here developing your own communities because I'm going to be outside playing with all of my little babies. So I know I have an amazing life now. But if money were no object for me, it would be spectacular. So I'm asking, if money were not an object for you, would you be able to do all of that? Or are you forced to do this? Wake up day in and day out, get dressed, drive to a job that you can't even stand. You roll your eyes at your coworkers, you halfway speak to your boss. You don't like your customers, and you borderline can't stand your clients. And your paycheck is already spent before the 1st and before the 15th. You go home day in and day out. You're worn out, you're drained with hardly any energy or time to enjoy your family. Bills are piling up on that kitchen table, and you're constantly feeling stuck in a cycle that you can't escape from. If you had to choose between having that life with the traveling the world and getting your groove back, or starting your business or getting your degrees, or this life with having to constantly choose between which bill to pay this week, not excited when you wake up in the mornings to go to work, stressing about disconnect notices, eviction notice, repo notices, spending so many hours going to work and not having enough money left over to live a happy life. Which life do you envision for that? This one or that one? So, our story for the day comes from that exact question. I had a chance to meet Anthony and Melissa a few years ago. They have been married 8 years. They have two small, cute kids. They both work in corporate jobs and they make pretty decent money. They bought a nice home. They drive two nice cars. Because of their careers, they feel they have to dress a certain way. So they have tailored suits, designer dresses, pricey shoes, weekly hair appointments, everything charged on their credit cards that always hit the max fast. Because of the circle of people they spend time around, they feel they have to entertain this way. They have monthly parties. They have high-priced food, expensive drinks. They pick up the tab, all on their credit cards. When he goes out for a night with the boys, money is no object. He swipes that card over and over again without any thought. When she goes on her Mother's Day out trips, she takes care of herself good. She overindulges at the spas, at the malls, and boutiques. She has friends who own small businesses, so of course she has to support them. She buys from them all the time, swiping that card. To see them out and about, you would think they were living a great, grand, spectacular life of the rich and famous. But their reality was this: maxed out credit cards, that when they did make a payment, it was just to clear it off enough to max it out again. They had threats of foreclosures because they're always getting behind on their mortgages. At least 4 or 5 times a year, they get disconnected bills from the utility companies because their utility statements are mixed in with the other bills in that pile on the kitchen table that they choose not to look at often. When they do look at the bills, World War III starts in their home. They're yelling at each other, they're screaming at each other, and they're comparing who spent the most money and trying to find out where the money's going to come from to pay all those bills. The reality was their marriage was broken because of all this. They couldn't stand being around each other because of this. When she got off work, she passed straight by her house and she found something else to do because she didn't want to go home and face this life. When he got off work, he passed right by his home and he found other things to do because he didn't want to go home to face this life. Day in and day out, this vicious cycle continued, and they were growing apart. This wasn't the life they envisioned when they said their vows years earlier. Yes, they promised for better or worse, richer or poorer, but it seemed like they had more worse and poorer days than they had better and richer days. This was not the life that they wanted. Fortunately for them, that was about to change in the most unexpected way. So he works in sales at a pretty large company. He earns a base salary that's pretty decent, and he has the opportunity to earn commission-based sales on the amount of clients that he brings in for the company. So he feels like he has to always bring his A game, from the way he dresses, to the way he speaks, to the way he has to make numbers make sense to his potential clients. He felt that he always had to be a fake magnet just to attract those type of clients to him. And that was because his paycheck was connected to them choosing to work with him and not his coworkers. He was under constant pressure to produce and to showcase for sales. Sometimes he hit, sometimes he missed. On the outside looking in, he was the poster child for success in America. But the reality was he was on the verge of heading towards divorce court and filing for bankruptcy. Every year, the owner of the company took his top producing sales team on an all-expense paid trip to a resort to spend time mentoring them and letting them enjoy a little rest and relaxation. For the first time ever, Anthony made that list. He and Melissa packed up and made their way to the airport. To their surprise, they were directed to the owner's private plane. They didn't have to wait in long lines for security checks. They didn't have to wait in line to check in their luggage. They didn't have to take off their shoes. They didn't have to take off their belts to walk through those metal detectors. They didn't even have to throw away those bottles of water that they were drinking. They didn't have to wait for hours to board the plane. They didn't have to squeeze into seats next to strangers, and they didn't have to be content with peanuts and cookies and a cup of soda as an in-flight snack. They even didn't have to share bathrooms with hundreds of strangers. Nope, the experience that they were having was an experience that neither one of them had ever before in their life. The plane they got on was spacious. The seats reclined and there was plenty of leg room. The food and drink choices compared to a five-star restaurant. The other passengers were his co-workers, so the conversation made the flight even more enjoyable. When they landed, a stretched limo SUV was waiting for them. When they arrived at the resort, they had to pass through a security checkpoint where their names were on the guest list. They drove up a winding road to get to the resort. When they arrived, someone opened their car doors, they got their luggages, and they already had their room keys ready. There was no reason to check in because of who they were guests of. It made it pretty cool, pretty exclusive. They made their way to their suite. Their room was huge. They had a large bed, marble in the bathrooms, and a balcony view that was indescribable. They made their way to dinner in a dining room that was decorated with expensive marble and chandeliers. The food was served to them by a waitstaff on fine china, expensive silverware. They were served expensive wines and the most delicious desserts that made you want to close your eyes and just savor every single taste. Everyone was given a packet with an itinerary of activities to choose from, ranging from golf, fishing, spa services, and one-on-one time with the owner to ask any questions that they had that they thought would make them better employees. So as Anthony and Melissa walked around the property, soaking in the view, Anthony admitted that he had an excitement in him that he has never had before. He loved this experience of the plane. The chauffeur driving the SUV, the hotel room, the food, the drinks, and he wanted to know how he could have that experience much more. When he had his turn to meet with the owner, he thought he would have 1,000 questions to ask. But the only thing he could get out was, how do I get all of that? He saw the owner look at him just a little bit confused, so he elaborated. How do I get the private plane, the limo, the food, the drinks, the resort? How do I get that type of life? So Anthony didn't mean how do you get that stuff, but rather how do you live a life where money can't stop you from the experiences that you really want. He tried to remember the last time that he and Melissa had that type of experience and all that type of fun without a maxed out credit card attached and trying to figure out how to pay the credit card bill the next month. He had to think a while, and he said the last time that happened for them was February the 3rd. They never had that chance. He had a taste for it for the first time, and he wanted more. The owner gave Anthony solid advice that changed his whole mindset, and eventually it changed the direction of his life. The owner said he gained his wealth and was able to do anything that he wanted to do because, one, he chose to make time to dream. The owner grew up in poverty. He saw his parents work so much to where they never had time to spend with him or his brothers or his sisters, and the family was still poor. He would often dream and take time to be with himself just to imagine a better life, where he never had to ask money's permission to live. He imagined his dream career, his dream house, his dream car, his dream vacations, his dream family, his dream life. And he knew the lack of money wasn't going to stop him from getting it. Number two, he chose to save. He said when he got a job, he was a teenager, and every time he got paid, he would put his money in a box to save it. He didn't spend any of his money unless it was absolutely necessary. He said he kept that same mindset as he got older. He put his savings into an interest-bearing account, and he took time to watch his money grow. He was very frugal with his spending. He always bought a used car. He kept the maintenance up on it. He made time to get the oil change. He made sure he changed his tires, and he drove the car for years until it couldn't drive anymore. And then he'd buy another used car. The amount of money he saved on car notes went into his investment accounts, and he made time to watch the money grow. He did not wear designer clothes. He bought a pair of black slacks. He had brown slacks, navy slacks, a pair of jeans with the same colors in a blazer. He got different colored shirts that were on sale and a few ties, and that was it. He switched those color combinations so much to where it looked like he had a walk-in closet full of clothes. He had a pair of brown shoes, a pair of black shoes, and a pair of sneakers. He said even though he qualified for a large mortgage, he chose to buy a home for a fraction of his budget. He said he never wanted to be house poor. That's where you have a nice house, but you can't afford to do anything else because your mortgage is so high. He chose not to max out his credit cards. He said he used his credit as a tool to build his wealth, not be a financial burden. And he invested his savings into stock and real estate. He chose to spend his money on things and experiences that would get him to the life that he dreamt about. Number 3, he chose to find mentors and leaders who would invest their time to help him grow. Whether it was a financial mentor who taught him how to better spend and how to save and how to grow his money, or a career mentor who told him not to settle for a job just because it was connected to a check, but to get a job or a career that if you didn't get paid to do it, you would still want to wake up every morning and go do it. The owner found a mentor to help guide him in nearly every aspect of his life that would get him to the life that he always wanted. Number 4, the owner chose to do the same for others. As the owner became more successful, he knew it wasn't just because he was that great of a businessman. He knew it was because of his desire to dream big and his willingness to make specific sacrifices and allow specific people in his life to guide him to do that for his life. So he chose to do the same for others. And that's why he does things like the retreat, to help pour his knowledge into others. So when Anthony and Melissa left the retreat, Anthony's mindset was completely changed. He and Melissa made a pact to get control of their lives so they could start enjoying it without maxed out credit cards attached. When they got home, they made time to dream. They wrote exactly what they wanted their ideal life to look like. They wanted to spend more time with their children. At Little League games, at dance classes, karate classes, they wanted to be together with their family. They wanted to take time to travel the world, to be on vacations with each other. Melissa wanted to go back and finish her degree so she could get a higher paying job that wasn't so demanding on her time. Their list grew and it grew, and for the first time in a long time, they were happy together. But they knew what was written on paper wouldn't even matter if they didn't do the work to make it happen. So the excessive spending that they were doing had to stop. That pile of bills on their kitchen table, they made time to open every single one of them and face it. They put payment plans in place to pay every single one of those bills on time. They made time to develop a weekly budget, and they made time to develop a monthly budget that helped them save and invest their money that would be used to help them reach their goals that was on their dream list. Y'all, you know it wasn't easy at first. Every time they went to spend money, they had to ask themselves if they really wanted this or if they really wanted that. And without hesitation, every single time, they chose that. And they chose that so much to now they're living a life to where money is no object. They are living a life that if they dreamed about it, it happened within their budget. So I thought that if that concept worked for Anthony and it worked for Melissa, it could definitely work for you. If money were no object, what would you be doing with your life? Think about it. Take time to think about it. I really want you to make time to dream and fantasize about your near perfect life. Why wouldn't you think that it could happen for you? Why do you think it would happen for others? Why do you think you would be the exception? I want you to make time to dream. And I need you to make time to write down the steps that you need to do in order to make your dream become your reality. I know you can do it, But you must make time to get control of your life through your finances. At the end of the day, this choice is yours. I can tell you all day long, but the choice is really yours. Do you want to continue to live this life where you're sick of going to your job, where you're underpaid and you're overworked and you're still broke? Or do you want a life where you're always juggling to figure out which bill you can pay on which day with which check? Or do you want to continue to live a life where you can't really have a lot of fun with your family? You can't go out with your friends because you know at the end of the day, a maxed out credit card is going to be waiting for you. Do you want to continue to be limited in what you can do because you simply can't afford it? Is this the life that you really want to continue to live? Or do you want that life? Do you want to be Stella, getting her groove back on the islands, anywhere in the world? Or do you want to start your business that earns you millions of dollars from selling your gifts and your talent? Or do you want to go on mission trips around the world to help others prosper? Or do you simply want to have time to sit in your backyard watching your children or your grandchildren run around and play without having to rush to your job to earn a paycheck, to pay bills, and still be broke? The choice is yours. Do you want this or do you want that? That's the question. So, this ends today's episode, and I hope that it was a blessing to you. I want you to make time to sit and write and execute the plan. You can do it, but you have to do it one step at a time. So remember, I am trying to reach a goal of helping people eliminate $25 million in debt this year. And I know that I can do it because you are helping me by participating in these assignments and sharing this podcast with your family and your friends who you want to see win as well. Remember, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, and we're on YouTube. As always, I want to thank my behind-the-scenes team for all that they do to make this podcast possible. And I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in every week to get some nuggets that will help improve your life. So until next time, I want you to dream big. I want you to stay focused. And I need you to live your best life within budget. I will see you next time on It's Crystal Clear.